Joining me now is Sourabh Gupta with the Institute for China-America Studies. He is a senior Asia-Pacific International Relations Policy Specialist. So we just saw this last story, just one example of many China's been doing over the years to lift its people out of poverty. 2020, the deadline, we're halfway through the year now. Will China reach its goal?
It's hard to say if it will reach its goal. It'll come very close, certainly, to reaching its goal. You know, the last mile in thing, especially poverty alleviation, is always the hardest mile. This was flagged as long as 3 years back in October 2017 at the National Party Congress. The three critical battles was financial de-risking, anti-pollution, and poverty. Poverty had been reduced from 100 million to 30 million, but there was that last 10 million, which was the hardest to do, of rural residents. I sense there would be a deep inroads in cutting that number down to a very, very minimal number.
You mentioned the rural poor. What defines poverty in China? And you know, we reached this 2020 goal. It's not going to stop, though. I mean, it's going to keep going.
Oh, absolutely. And the goal also in terms of poverty reduction is to ensure that it's not just a one-time effort. People don't climb out of the poverty line only to sink back beneath it. The idea is to give them self-sustenance and the means for them to get wealthy on their own. In a poor country, and China is no longer a poor country, it's an upper middle income country. But upper middle income countries also don't have that fiscal capacity to continually provide handouts, and therefore this needs to be self-sustaining, and it provides the means. Therefore, it's necessary to provide the means for these individuals to be able to sustain their way out, and that's why it's important to do it in a much more holistic way.
That being said, what have you noticed over the years as some of the plan has changed to introduce technologies? We saw innovation rather than just providing housing and subsidies for people.
That's right. I mean, rural infrastructure is important, it's necessary, but insufficient. At the end of the day, as I said, people need to find a way to haul themselves out on a self-sustaining basis. The way China got rich initially, way back in the 1980s, was in terms of agricultural modernization, the reform of the institutional structure.